My name is Jeffrey Foucault, and this song is called Dying Just a Little. I wrote this for my friend Kitty Welch. Trying to stay alive, trying to stay alive to it all. Dying just a little every time the leaves fall. The river freezes over, the warblers pass through. Dying just a little, honey, who takes care of you? Trying to stay awake long enough to hear the late night songs. Dying just a little every time you sing along. You hear all their confessions, you tell them what to do. Dying just a little, honey, who takes care of you? Trying to stay awake, trying to stay wild, and just watch the deal go down. You're dying just a little every time they try to kill your little town. Your babies move away, they come back home to you. You're dying just a little, and honey, who takes care of you? Trying to keep your heart open, wide enough for everyone. Dying just a little every time it comes undone. Or froze up like a mailbox with the letters trapped inside. Dying just a little, just trying to stay alive. Dying just a little and just try to stay alive. It's really nice to be back. It's a little bit heavy and light at the same time. So our longtime drummer, I was on the road with Billy Conway, who was here playing with us. And we met in 2009 and started touring together around then in a variety of, sometimes my stuff, sometimes a band that I was the writer for, but it wasn't under my name. And but then we started playing as a duo, just the two of us a lot of the time, starting in 2013 or so. And so we did that for quite a while, mostly the two of us, and then we'd bring up the band when we were going to do festivals or album release tours. And when we were here in 18, we finished the festival and we went on tour in Europe, and then when we got home, Billy got diagnosed with cancer. So he dealt with that for about 2 years, and he died in 2021. So then, and we were in the middle of the pandemic, so we weren't going anywhere, we weren't getting to play together much, but we did spend a lot of time together. But this is the first time, it's been a few years getting back on the road, and every place you go, the last time you were there, you were with your best friend. And most of those places I've been back to, but I hadn't been back to here, so I keep thinking about, the various things that we did last time we were here, which one of our guys last time we were here had to get on a taxi to Hamburg at about 4 in the morning, and we decided to just stay up, and everything went a little sideways, and I had to write a note to Elin Jules' band to apologize for making them stay awake all night because they had the room above us. But it was a very fun time. Yeah, we had a good time. The Universal Fire is an album. It's about a couple things. It's about losing things, right? Like the idea of loss or permanence or whatever, however you want to term the question. And then, so it's partly about losing my best friend and drummer, Billy. And then it's also about the way American music has sort of, the way I think about it, has mostly fallen apart in the last, the mechanisms that support, the culture that supports American music has really fallen apart in the last, let's say 25 years, maybe a little more than that. And it's just kind of, it's like it's like a circular back eddy on the side of a river. It's not really going anywhere forward. And that is all encapsulated for me by this headline I read about a big fire that happened at the Universal Studios lot in Hollywood that burned up the master recordings of a lot of American music that was really important to me. You know, the first line of the title track is "Our religion was electric," right? And that's what I was talking about, was the closest thing that we had, I think, as musicians to a secular religion was our adherence to blues, country, the things that became rock and roll, and then rock and roll itself. And so all the songs that I chose for that record, and I wrote probably 40 songs because we had a pandemic and I wasn't getting out a lot. We only kept 10, but I kept the 10 that all sort of spoke from some angle to this idea about, you know, what it means to lose something. You know. I actually re-recorded it, and I have a solo version where I did all the songs plus about 8 songs that weren't included on the rock and roll record, where you know, I started out just trying to just be me and the guitar and sing, but then the songs were built for other things to happen. So there's sections where if I'm just strumming along, it's very boring. So then I started adding things, and there's like banjo and slide guitar and piano and all these things that I don't really do, but I could kind of fake it. And so there's a second version. I haven't released it really yet, but it'll come out at some point. So we recorded a tribute album to Billy about 3 months after he died, and it's a tribute. Most people didn't realize that he wrote songs his whole life, and they're really beautiful songs. And we went through, he had given me a bunch of 4-track recordings that he made way as far back as 1980 of his own songs, and little side projects where he'd work with one other person and they'd have some crazy band name or whatever. But we sifted through all that, and then we sent those recordings to a lot of people, and we all learned songs, and then we convened at the house where Bill had been living, and we set up, you know, not unlike this, just in a small space. We used an old recording console. There was a game show in the United States called The Price is Right that was real famous, and Frank Black from the Pixies had ended up with the recording console from that game show. It's just a little, I think it's a 6 or a 9 channel Neve console, and we brought that, plugged a computer into it. So we just had a very limited number of inputs, and that was, Billy really believed in simplicity, so we wanted to make a simple record. So we made a rule, I think only 4 people could be recording at a time, and that way we didn't get out over our skis and get into trouble. And so it's a very, it's a fairly simplified recording, but then we did bring in horns over the top, and we did some vocal overdubs. My daughter Hazel, who was really good friends with Billy, because she toured with the band when she was 6, 7, 8, you know. So Billy was always the first guy up, and he had a rule she could wake him up whenever. So he would get up and play Barbies with her before anybody else was awake. And she came and sang on the record, sang a beautiful sort of gospel-style number that he had written with a friend called Trouble in Heaven. And I think she must have been 11 or 12 when she recorded that. She's just a total pro, you know, very, very put together. And it's my favorite track on the whole thing, you know. He would have loved that, you know. They were good buddies. Eric Koskinen started playing with me in 2019 when Billy got sick, and I didn't want to go out by myself. I did it a couple times. I was not enjoying it. So Eric had opened for my band in 2015 or 16 in Milwaukee, and it was just him and another electric guitar player, and they came out and they were so good that everybody in the green room stood up and walked to the door and looked out and tried to figure out what was happening. And a couple people had told me he was really good, but I was really impressed. And then the first time I hired him, I didn't tell him what we were going to play. I didn't tell him what key anything was in, and I didn't tell him to listen to any of my albums. He probably had listened to a little bit. And I could not lose him. He was like, it was like playing catch with somebody that had a blindfold on, and he caught it every time. So he's been in the band now since 19, and he's a really uncanny guitar player, but he's a great songwriter. And for my money, he's one of the really great unknown songwriters in the United States. He's famous in his home state in Minnesota. Everybody plays his songs at bars and stuff. And everybody knows he's kind of the great guitar player in that area, and he's got a great working band. But he has never, he would go home and work on a farm, drive the combine. He fixes his own car. He's kind of like, the way that people who love Bruce Springsteen, they want to believe that Bruce Springsteen is a blue collar, like Eric is actually that person, and he also writes great songs. So. I was excited when Maria asked him to have his own set. I think what's special about Tønder is the way that it's run and the people who run it, because any organization, when you put people together, it comes down to culture, right? So culture at the most basic level, if you're talking about a nation or a town or a business, is a story that you tell about who you are and what you do and why you do it, and it's the story you tell yourselves. And when I first got out of university, I was doing a lot of odd jobs, outside work. Eventually, I started substitute teaching at a school, and then another school. It was easier than climbing a roof or doing anything like that. And I noticed that school to school, the culture could be massively different, and the experience of working there was different, and the kids were very different, the way they behaved. And we play a lot of festivals, and I remember we played one that Billy called the I Don't Know Festival, because everybody you asked any question, they'd be like, oh, I don't know. You'd say, where's the stage, or where can I park my car, or do I have a hotel room? And the really great festivals, and Tønder's one, you walk in, everybody knows their job, everybody's excited. It feels like being at summer camp. People are very happy and they're having a nice time. And that's what it's all about.